Our feet are beautiful because we also discover that we bring good tidings. It seems to me that good tidings that we bring is where we bring hope to people who don't have it, life where they don't have it, where there's woundedness. In Romans chapter 10, verses 14 and 15, we read these words, "How then can they call on the one they've not believed in? And how can they believe in the one whom they've not heard? And how can they hear without someone preaching to them? And how can anyone preach unless they are sent? As it's written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news." How can anyone preach unless they're sent? You know, in our Christian walk as we go through, sometimes we think of ourselves just stumbling along and just making it by the skin of our teeth. But I want us to understand that we're sent. We need to see ourselves not just on a walk. We're on a military exercise here, friends. We're on a march for Jesus. And I know that phrase in the 90s was used lots and lots and lots. And we'd all go around the streets and we'd worship, and those were exciting and good times. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about being a sent people. You see, your feet are beautiful because your feet are sent. Some of our feet need to be scented, but your feet are sent. My feet are sent. We're sent on our walk by Jesus. And so we have to discover that if we're commissioned by him to go on a march for him, then it's time for us to get a little bit excited about the message that we have burning within us. Thank you for that. It's time for us to be a bit excited about that and realize that not only do we have confidence in it to speak it out, but we have confidence in the God who sent us out. There's a proverb that's really brilliant, and it's well, they're all brilliant, but it says this, Proverbs 15:30 says, "Light in a messenger's eyes brings joy to the heart, and good news gives health to the bones." Notice that it's light in the messenger's eyes that gives joy to the heart. Why is it? Where is this light? It's in the messengers. It's in you and I. It's in us. When we talk about Jesus, when we share our faith, when we think of him even, there should be a little twinkle in our eyes that sets us apart from everyone else. Some of us have that when we think of our loved ones and our spouses, and when we might have that little twinkle, and hopefully you still do, doesn't matter how long you've been married or if you're engaged or all this sort of thing. But actually, when we think of Jesus, we should light up. There should be something inside of us that leaps with joy when we think of the wonders that he's done in our lives. And so when people start talking to us and we start talking to them, well, they should understand that there's a twinkle in our eye. You see, in certain cultures, when a messenger is sent out by a king or a tribal leader, what would happen is that messenger wasn't just to deliver a message. You see, we think in our English heritage about the herald that would be sent out and a trumpet would blow and he'd read a scroll and it'd be, oh yay, and all this sort of thing. But in a lot of cultures, what would happen is the message would be given verbally and the messenger had to imitate the king before the one who was having the message delivered to them. So if the king was angry, then when the messenger got there, he would be angry. He would deliver it in those tones and those mannerisms. If the king was happy, then he would deliver it in a happy and excited and joyful way. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to do some training with leaders in Ethiopia, and I was over there, and it was a great opportunity and had great times, been there a few times, and just awesome things that God is doing through the church in Ethiopia right now. And you might be interested to know, they think by 2020 that 20% of Ethiopia will be born again. It's the fastest growing church in Africa at the moment. Amazing things are happening there right now. And I was asked to go and preach at a congregation and on a Sunday morning, which I did, and they gave me an interpreter who I hadn't heard before, but he was brilliant. He was probably the best interpreter I've ever had. I had to use interpreters most Sundays, actually, because people come up to me afterwards going, "What do you mean?" I'll say, "Ask Barbie, she understands." And so we have all this thing, and he was brilliant. So if I'd walk across the stage like this, he'd walk across the stage like this. If I put my hand out like this, he put his hand out like this. He was a mirror image of me, except he was half my size. But he was a mirror image of me. And so everything I did, when I laughed, he would laugh in the translation. And he was brilliant because he became a copy of me. And sometimes when a messenger is sent out, they are designed to be the copiers of the one who's giving the message. And here's the question. Because we actually are the image of God in the world. We're created in his image. We're children of God. And so when we portray God, we're actually portraying what we think God is saying, or his attitude or his heart towards us. So here's the question. Is God happy or mad with us? And here's the other question. Is God happy or mad with the world? Because so much of what we project is God is angry, when actually God is calling people to himself. We got a new kitten this week. It's hard work. It's hard work. She's still a little skittish. I can understand why. You come to our family, give us half an hour, you'll be skittish. This kitten is a bit skittish. But if there's loud noises or if we talk with raised voices towards her, she just goes and sits behind the sofa and she doesn't want to come out. But if we talk gently to her and woo her and encourage her, she comes out and she'll rub against us and we'll have a little bit of fun with her. Now you might say, oh, people like that aren't like kittens. No, they're not kittens, but there is a similarity, because if all they hear is God is angry, when we try and talk with them, they'll just be those people will be angry right back at us. I had a met with somebody years ago, a few years ago, and when in my role, I happened to be a landlord in this Christian center, and I was a landlord to 13 tenants. And a lady met me, one of the residents. I'm talking with her and saying how great it is and what a great day it is and all this sort of stuff. And she said, "Don't you know that your happiness upsets me?" Now, I wish I had a pithy comment to come back with. I didn't have something really insightful or wisdom or, oh, you know, you need Jesus or anything like that. But I went away and I thought this. I mustn't allow someone else's bitterness to control my attitude of happiness. I mustn't allow someone else's bitterness to control my attitude of happiness. See, bitterness is drinking poison and hoping someone else will die. And what we need to discover is we need to portray this message with good news, with the hope and the light of Jesus in our eyes, because it's good news. I thought it was good news until I came to church, and then I realized how wrong I was. No, it's good news, isn't it? God is good to us.